Michelle, thank you for being here tonight. And again, thank you for your patience with technical difficulties. But tell us a little bit about who you are for these young women. These are the young women of Apogee.
Well, I'm really excited to be here. I'm glad that we're getting a group together so that we can kind of talk about all the cool stuff that we're doing and kind of build this community of young, strong women. Um, I am, I just retired, so it's weird because people ask, like, what do I do? And I'm like, I'm a professional fighter, but I'm actually retired professional fighter. Um, I was fighting professionally for 18 years. I have my black belt in American Freestyle Karate, and I also have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I own a Jiu Jitsu school out here in Albuquerque, and my husband and I also are part owners of 4 restaurants out here, and we also have a couple of rental properties. And my husband is also a GC, and I help him build spec homes to sell. So we're quite busy. On top of that, I'm also a sheepdog instructor with Tim Kennedy. And so that's lots of fun. I just got home today, actually. I was in Texas doing a tactical games competition, and that was lots of fun. So just staying real busy. I almost feel I'm more busy now that I'm retired than when I was fighting, but that's how life goes. Outside of my career, I'm married to a Air Force veteran, and I have a beautiful 13-year-old daughter.
Hmm. So you're very aware of the young women in your household. So that's awesome. I love that. I didn't know that about you. So what I want to know is what inspired you to pursue your to be a fighter? Like how did you do that, and how has it shaped you in your identity as a woman?
Well, I grew up a middle child. I have an older brother and a younger sister, and I looked up to my brother. I wanted to do everything he did, and so we spent our time watching Ninja Turtles and Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and I wanted to be a ninja. So, my parents couldn't afford. I really, honestly, I wanted to do gymnastics, but my parents couldn't afford to put me in gymnastics. So there was a little community church uh, down the street that taught martial arts, and it was something that was um, it, something that my parents were able to put all 3 of us in and could afford to do. And when I started training martial arts, I just fell in love with it. It was I think just with my father being in the military, the discipline of martial arts, and then just the competitiveness of it and the challenge. I just knew that I wanted it to be a part of my life for the rest of my life. And so it did. It took over my life. And becoming a young adult, I knew that I wanted to pursue some type of career involving martial arts. And at first, I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist. And I realized quickly that that kind of wasn't my path. I did go to college, and it was fine, but I was just going through the paces. And I started to realize that I was losing myself. My fire was spat out, and I kind of was just doing it because I assumed that those were the next steps into adulthood. Was you graduate high school, you go to college, you get the degree, you marry your high school sweetheart, and then you get the white picket fence. And that's really not how life ever pans out. 99% of the time, there's always those beautiful stories. And so I remember, my mom's mother getting sick in Thailand and asked me if I wanted to go visit. And I thought it would be a perfect time for me to take a break from school and kind of just give myself a little breather. And so yeah, I took a semester off of school and I went to Thailand with my mom. And I did some Muay Thai out there, and I fell in love with it. And that's when I realized that that's what sparks my soul, and that it kind of reignited the light inside of me. And I realized that that's what I should be pursuing was something in martial arts. And So when I came back home, I dropped out of college and I moved out to Albuquerque, New Mexico to pursue fighting, and I've never looked back ever since.
It's interesting because I think a lot of times we have this idea when we're young that this is the path, and I think a lot of times we hurry through some of those things as well. Um, but I have heard through so many young people, well, my mom was this, so this is what I'm going to be, or my family expects me to be this certain thing when I grow up, or they had all these expectations, and then it's hard to think about this when you're sitting in the young shoes that you guys are in right now. But, as a 48-year-old woman, if I'm in a career that I don't really like and I'm going through the motions of it, and I love how you said, like, there just wasn't any light in that. And like when you started pursuing this, it was like something changed inside of you.
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of us do that. As we get older, because we feel like we have these responsibilities to fulfill, and obviously you do. As you become an adult, there are responsibilities, but um, you are also responsible for your own happiness, and kind of how the metaphor that I always tell people when it comes to you know your journey in life and the things you just decide to pursue, and I always tell them to look for fulfillment other than success. Like, are you fulfilled? A lot of times people think that, financial success is fulfillment, and you'll soon realize that it's not, because money is just a tool. But I always tell them, and then what ends up happening too when you become a parent is then you start to fill their cup and you forget about your own cup. And so what I always tell people is, like, when you get on a plane and the stewardess is up front and she's telling you, in case of emergency, make sure you put your mask on before you help your young children. And that's just a great metaphor in life. It's not about an emergency, really. It's just about life in general. You can't walk the walk. You can't tell your children to do this, to be happy, to pursue their dreams, if you're not pursuing them yourself. So take care of yourself, take care of your dreams, and walk the walk that way. And then in doing that, you're doing your children a better service, because they learn through what they see. You can tell them until you're blue in the face to go after their dreams, but if they don't see mommy and daddy going after their dreams, they're going to be like, well, you kind of didn't.
Absolutely. Especially when you're sitting face to face with them, and all of these young women, you can see it in your parents when they're happy and when they're not happy, and being able to like, this is valuable to hear what Michelle is saying in terms of chase after what makes you happy. Like, what is your dream? Don't limit yourself, because right now you're in a dreaming stage. And one of the things that we're going to go through in their year of Apogee is getting them to go in and start trying out some different things, to try out some apprenticeships, to see if they actually want to be in the medical field, or whatever they're chasing down, and do this at an early age, so that you're not 20 years into a career and doing it because, well, this is what pays the bills. Because we hear of that a lot, from
Right.
women. We hear that often.
Hmm.
Well, I can't quit this job because this is what's paying the bills.
Right. And also, you think, well, this is what I chose to do, so I have to commit. And how I look at it is, you don't have to commit to anything. But when you chose to go to college or to pursue that specific career, it puts you on a path, and that is what is supposed to happen. Now, the path that you're on will have turns in the road, so you don't always have to just stick to that path to get to the same outcome. You're going to have to take detours. You're going to have to eventually go left or right. And sometimes you think that you're meant to do one thing, and then you turn out and do something completely different. But if you hadn't, like, made a decision and taken a path, then you wouldn't have gone anywhere. So the idea is to just get the ball rolling, like you're saying, to pursue different things and to explore and pick a path. Like a lot of people, there's too many decisions, right? There's 10 things that you love to do. Well, pick one and get the ball rolling. And once you have that momentum going, and then you're going to either realize you love it or you don't. And so you either go left or right, but you already have that momentum going.
That's definitely, I love that. So, how has your community played in your success of, being a fighter? I know right now you're retired, but how did your community play a role in that? And how can these young women build a supportive community for themselves?
Yeah, it's birds of a feather. You have to surround yourself with, like-minded people that are motivated to do big things, to dream big dreams, and to have high standards for themselves. So you are who you surround yourself with. And I always think it's good to at least have three major people in your life: somebody that is a mentor that you look up to and that kind of can coach you through things, somebody that is a teammate or a partner that you can compete with, and iron sharpens iron, where you guys are constantly raising the bar and making each other better. And then having somebody below you that you mentor yourself. And because if first you have to learn how to learn, but you also have to learn how to teach. And so all the three of those, that combination of people in your life will keep you balanced, for sure.
I love the idea of being a leader for someone that's younger than you. Like,
Mhm.
go ahead and lead someone else in this journey, because that's what we want here. We want these women, including myself, we want to be a leader, and we want to get out there and make a difference. And for me, it's not finding people that are necessarily younger, but I mean, I have been a leader and mentors to women that are older than me. It's all about like choosing who you want to associate with, and just in leading. And it sounds easy, but I think sometimes, it's like, I don't know, like we question ourselves. Do we have that knowledge to teach someone else?
100%. That is something I struggled with for a long time because, I'm a student of the game. In the martial arts world, there's a pecking order. You start as a white belt and then you work your way up to a black belt, and it's the same way in the fight world, right? And so for a long time, I never gave myself the credit that was due, because I felt like I had to earn some sort of championship or belt. Like on my way towards a championship belt, I never gave myself the credit that I could be a champion because I never had that belt around me, right? I remember talking to my sports psychologist, and he asked me a question that really kind of stuck with me. And he said, who do you consider the greatest of all time? Michael Jordan, if you talk about basketball; Muhammad Ali, if we're talking about boxing. And so he said, so do you think that when Michael Jordan won all those rings, that he was content and felt like he didn't need to learn anymore? And it's no way. He was back at the gym the very next day, training, continuing to get better. And so what he told me is you can have the mentality of a champion and still be a student. And so understanding that and giving myself permission to be both a champion and a student really allowed me to flourish.
I love that. I love that. What's one piece of advice you wish someone would have given you when you were a younger woman?
Um, that I mean, I had some great mentors, and I think that I kind of was very competitive and stubborn, growing up and just kind of listening to my intuition. Um, but something I wish somebody would have told me when I was younger is you're doing everything right, and just keep grinding, because what it it's a compound effect, right? And you're digging and you're digging and you're digging, and you don't see the results. but it's because you're putting in the work and you're constantly, and so it can be frustrating when you first start your career or your journey, or whatever it is that you decide to do. You open your own business. If you don't get that instant gratification, which I think a lot of, the younger generation fall victim to because of how fast our technology has become, and it's given them that instant gratification. When you're working for something that you're truly passionate about, you definitely won't get that instant gratification. And I'm talking about not in a year, not in 2 years, not in 3 years, not even in 4 years. I'm talking about nothing will be shown from your work until you've put in a decade's worth of work. And are you passionate about your dream, your career, whatever it is that you're trying to build, enough to keep your head down and work for 10 years? Because if you are, then you will be successful.
That's wise. We don't get instant gratification, and I think that's what we're, kind of teaching right now with technology, with our younger humans in our lives, is the instant gratification. And if you want something, you have to work for it, period. The bottom line. Ladies, start raising your hands. I would love for you guys to get in here and start asking Michelle some questions. We have her for a little while longer, and your voice matters. And to be a leader, you've got to be heard. Lydia, go ahead.
Hi, Michelle. I was going to ask, I know that I haven't done any martial arts, but I know it's a super mental sport and you really have to like hone in your mind and the way that you think about things and stuff. So I was going to ask what other area of your life that is kind of surprising that really affected, like where that you wouldn't really think. Obviously, you get really physically fit and it can make you very determined, but maybe there's some other aspect of life that it really changed for you that would be beneficial.
So what do you mean, like something that I learned in fighting that I applied to other
Yeah.
aspects of my life?
Yes.
Oh, everything that has happened to me in fighting, I have been able to apply in life, really. I think the thing that smacked me in the face the hardest, though, is just trying to raise my daughter as a competitor, and just seeing myself in her, just like a younger, smaller version, right? And understanding that I can't control her journey, and her journey is her own. All I can do is kind of give her, you know, give her guidance and mentor her. And it kind of sucks sometimes because I can say all that, but a lot of times there are lessons that have to be learned on your own. And so I kind of have to sit back and allow her to learn those lessons the hard way. And I've had to kind of learn to swallow my pride and my ego and let those things happen naturally, instead of telling her like, I know I've been through this, because it's not going to help any. Like, she has to go through it and it's her own journey. For like, if I'm talking about my family, but when I think about like my own career, even now, just retiring from fighting and turning the page and really having to create a whole new career, it's frustrating, and I feel at times that I am starting all over. And I have to remind myself that, yeah, you are starting all over, and it's a grind and you have to work for it. If it's something you want, it's a grind. And that's something that's kind of, in the forefront of what's happening in my life right now. Just knowing that it's not going to be given to me, and I don't want it to be given to me. I want to be able to earn it. And so I just have to give myself the grace that I normally don't have, because I am such a competitive person and I am very impatient. And so reminding myself that, it's a process and you're doing all the right things. You're just, right now, your new, flower is still a seed, and I just have to keep watering it.
Nothing feels as good when it was just handed over.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to earn it.
Right. All right. Let's go with Olivia. Uh-oh, there we go. Oh, you were unmuted and then there you are.
Okay, sorry. My connection's really slow. Do you have any tips for like getting back? Like I went to kickboxing for a couple months with my dad and they like let us do it together. And I did have a lot of fun, but I want to go back, but I'm really nervous about like going back on my own. Like, do you have any tips for like going, because the gym that we went to was like, there was a couple girls that would be there sometimes, but like sometimes they wouldn't be there. And I'm honestly just really nervous about like being the only girl there or like just fighting someone random because I'm definitely not that good. So like, do you have any tips for something like that?
I would say go a little bit earlier to class and talk to the instructor and tell him that you're really excited to be there and that you want to, you know, get back into it, but you're nervous. And they'll, you know, if it's a good school and a good instructor, they'll guide you and they'll make sure that they take care of you and partner you up with the right person to be more of a coach versus somebody that's just going to try to take your head off, you know? But yeah, step outside your comfort zone. It is one of those things. It is kind of nervous. It's kind of scary, but it's like when you ride a roller coaster when you're waiting in line, that's the scariest part. And as soon as you get on the ride, then you're having fun. So be nervous, go. And I promise you, as soon as you join class, you're going to forget about all the nerves and just kind of be in the moment.
Great question. All right, let's go with Emma.
Miss Michelle, so I
Yes.
had one question is how do you keep from getting defensive when you get feedback from your coach?
So what I tell my daughter and what I have to tell myself when I first started being coached is if they aren't coaching you, that means they're not watching you. So if you get defensive, then that just means that you're not receptive to what they're trying to tell you. And the only reason why they are critiquing you is because they know you can be better. And so you actually want your coach to yell at you, to critique you, to do all these things, because that means they're watching you and that means that they see your potential. The minute that they stop coaching you is when you really got to be worried because they've kind of given up on you. So, and they will stop coaching you if you constantly are combative with them. Take their advice and apply it. And what happens is sometimes if they see something that you don't see. So if you apply it and it works, awesome. You know, you just learned something new. And if you apply it and if it doesn't work, then maybe it's just not a tool that you would pick up all the time.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right, let's go with Keely.
Hi. So I was gonna ask, how do you like mentally like balance everything in your life? You have a schedule and then I mean I have school and I have a sport and then you just like have to deal with everything. You have to deal with going back home to a family and then I don't know, you have to pay the bills and then go grocery shopping, just like all of that stuff. How do you mentally like balance all of it and you just don't go crazy? Because like I get super nervous and it's really bad. It gets really bad. And I would just like, because my schedule's really busy and I would just like to know how you kind of balance it.
Mm-hmm. It can be kind of nerve-wracking. My dad used to always give me a hard time when I was younger because I loved to do a million things all at once, you know? And my best advice for you would be to stay organized. If you organize all the things, then it becomes less chaotic, you know? It's like if you have a purse and your purse is organized versus it's just you just toss everything in there and you're looking for the keys or the chapstick and you can never find it because it's like at the very bottom in the corner. Keep your life organized and that will be the key, honestly. And also a lot of times we can overwhelm ourselves and it make the problem bigger than what it really is. We all have the same amount of hours in the day that we're dealing with, and some people deal with them better than others. So it's like really understanding where you're prioritizing your time and how you're managing your time. So, the things that are in the forefront that absolutely need to get taken care of has to get taken care of first, and then you do your wants. So you always take care of your needs first, and then you have time for your wants, because your wants aren't necessarily things that you always have to check off. Those are kind of just like extra credit stuff, right? So always take care of the stuff that you need. And then something that also helps me is, if you keep a problem pent up in your head, then it turns into a monster, right? So get it out, whether it's writing it down, saying it out loud, or actually like getting up and moving and doing stuff like, okay, first I have to clean my room, and like do something physical to do that. Take actual, like, a physical action to do that. And then I have to do this. Like, I used to get really, really nervous about my fights. And I would hear, I would watch the TV, and I'd hear my opponent do her interview, and she would talk about how she's gonna knock me out and this and that, and I would start getting worried, like, oh my gosh, did I not train enough? Is she gonna knock me out? What happens if she knocks me out? What happens if my daughter sees me knocked out? What happens? The world's gonna see me get knocked out. And so all these things kind of pile up on each other. And instead of doing the what if game, I just say, you know what, Michelle? Stop overthinking it. Why were you worried to begin with? Okay, you're worried about her knocking you out. What's she gonna knock you out with? So I take a logical approach to it. The best thing she could probably do to knock me out would be a right hand. All right, so I literally get up and I start shadowboxing. Okay, she throws the right hand, and I walk myself through the problem. I'm gonna slip, and then I'm gonna throw my own right hand. And now I'm actually being offensive versus defensive. And now I'm working through the problem, and I'm taking control of the situation. And so that's what you can do with all the problems that you have in your head. Instead of allowing them to continue to be problems, just solve them one at a time, one at a time, one at a time.
Thank you.
Of course.
Great question. All right, Sydney.
What was your least favorite part about the UFC, and what was your favorite part about being in the UFC?
My least favorite part is that at the end of the day, somebody has to lose. Because I know the person, like, across the cage from me, I know how hard they've worked. And there's only two outcomes, right? You either win or you lose. And whether it's me losing or the person across from me losing, it still sucks, but it's kind of, it is part of what comes, it's part of the territory of being a fighter. And a very close second would be having to cut weight, because I like food. And my most favorite thing is that regardless of the outcome of the fight, I would always come out the other end a better person.
All right, great question. All right, Isabel.
Hi. I wanted to ask you, for me, I always find that I'll get very, like, I let people tell me what not to do and what to do a lot, whether it be like, because I do Muay Thai too, and I've been training for about 3 years. And so my coach has been like, you should fight, you should like at least do like PKB or MDL, something like lower level.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking like, okay, maybe I should, but then I always think, is that really what I want? Was there ever like a time where you wanted to do something or didn't want to do something and someone was telling you like the opposite, and how did you like deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, that is a hard thing to do, because sometimes you can be in a situation where the person wants it more than you do. And whether it's your parents or whether it's your coach, that is definitely something that you have to own. And I think it just is going to take some like introspective thinking, and really kind of take a look at what is the reason that you do Muay Thai, and is it something that you really want to do? And again, like I was talking to the other girl earlier that asked about going to class, or about the coaching and how not to be so defensive. Sometimes a coach wants to push you to competition because they think you're ready for it. If a coach doesn't think that you're ready for competition, they wouldn't say so. And when you compete, it pushes you to the next level. And maybe your coach just feels like you're ready for that next level because he sees it. There might be something that he sees that you don't see. And sometimes when you go to compete, you find out things about yourself that you never knew where it was inside of you. And you can't do that unless you put yourself in the fire. And again, it is nerve-wracking, it is scary, but that's how you grow, is by putting yourself in very uncomfortable positions, uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable choices, and coming out the other end, regardless of the outcome. Life isn't easy, and you're not gonna get handed an easy life, regardless of whatever, however careful you try to be, you one way or another, you're gonna run into a conflict, an issue, some type of adversity. And so maybe he's just trying to push you to compete because he knows that you have the potential to unlock something in yourself that you haven't quite seen yet.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go with Audrey.
So I do jujitsu too, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Cool.
And I wanted to know, since you're a black belt in it, and there are like 7,000 black belts in the world, I wanted to know how you try to improve yourself in jiu-jitsu.
Just show up every day, show up and be present. Even as a black belt, I'm still learning. So when you get your black belt, it's kind of like the beginning of your journey, to be honest with you. So just always stay a student and continue to learn and to continue to love learning.
I have another question. Before, like, I've stopped doing this now, but before I would try to find someone who I knew I could beat, instead of like someone else who I know is better than me, who I might be able to beat, like maybe 3 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But I was afraid of losing, so I wouldn't go with them. Have you ever been like afraid of losing?
All the time. All the time, but I also really love the challenge, and I love pushing myself. And I think, especially if I'm getting myself ready for a competition, I'd rather go against somebody that's better than me, that's gonna push me to the limits. I'd rather tap against a teammate a million times so that I'm ready for my competition, versus always, beat somebody that I know I can beat and then get into competition and fight somebody that was way better than me and I wasn't prepared. So I think it's great of you to recognize that was something that you did. And I think it's great of you to push yourself and to go with those people that, are better than you, because that's how you get better, is by going with somebody that's better than you, letting them tap you, and then trying to tap them. And because one day what's going to happen is you're going to catch them, and then, you're going to be the one that's beating them. So that's how it works. You gotta put yourself in the fire.
One more thing is, the reason that I would do that was because I wasn't really serious, and then I got thinking, well, I'm not really going to improve, so if I want to improve, I do have to go with people who will make me work for it.
100%. Your head's already in the right place, and I think that you're gonna do great in the sport with that type of mentality.
It's also my head, like, yeah, it is my head, because I'm getting into my own head, saying, oh, well, they're way bigger than you, they're more advanced than you can't beat them. And today I went against a guy who had like a 20-pound advantage on me. And I did pretty good. I mean, like, I didn't win. I lost twice or something. But I still got like it would have been way better than going with the other kids because he was really my only challenge. So,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Oosh, it's not your turn.
Yeah, you're
Question.
100% right. Good job. I'm proud of you.
All right, let's go. Caroline, you have your hand up, and we're gonna wrap on Caroline so we can let Michelle get back to her life.
Michelle, I just wanted to ask you, you spoke earlier that you gained or regained that passion when you went to Taiwan, but I want to know, when did you initially recognize that this could be your identity and who you were made to be?
I think when I went to Thailand because
Thailand, sorry.
no, it's okay. Because I couldn't think about anything else. I was completely engrossed in everything fighting, and anything else that I was doing, I couldn't wait to get back to training. And that's when I knew that that's where I needed to put my time. And I think just for me, it was because it was a difference between a traditional education in college and something that was not traditional, and honestly, for me, I think that's what was holding me back, because I just felt that was what was expected of me, was to go to college. And if I didn't go to college, then I would be letting down my mom, my family members, and letting go of my future, and that I wasn't going to become a success. But I think my happiness overrode that, and I realized that if I was passionate about it, then I would figure out a way to make it financially successful in order for me to pursue it.
Thank you so much for that input. And then, were your parents fully supportive of you through that, or was there some difficulty that you had to work through?
Actually, my parents were really supportive of me because they knew the type of person I was. I wouldn't just drop out of college. I graduated top 10 of my high school. I was, National Honor Society president, Thespian president, senior class president. I was very studious. And so for me to say, I don't want to do school was off-putting to them, obviously, but they were kind of like, really? Like, this isn't like you. And so because they knew me and they knew that, if I said that I meant it, then they were like, okay, well then go after your dreams, but don't just go after your dreams in a small way. Go after your dreams in a big way, like make it worth it. If you're going to drop out of college, make it worth it.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So Michelle, I have a wrap-up question for you. This group of women, young women that we have on this call, is from ages 12 to 18 years old. So I'm going to kind of go into the middle of that age, because I know that's a big difference in age and in terms of the teen years. But if you could go back and tell your 14-year-old self one thing, what would it be?
That everything that you're experiencing right now isn't going to follow you into your future. Like, it doesn't define who you are, right? When you're, going through middle school, high school, all the things, all the drama, all the emotions that you're feeling can feel like the end of the world, because in your personal world, it is. But like if I could tell a quick story, hopefully you guys are okay to listen to it. But I was like a late bloomer, and so I was very self-conscious about it. And a lot of the girls my age were already starting to develop physically and having boyfriends and all this, and I felt a bit left out. And I started comparing myself to all the other girls at school and feeling like I wasn't part of the cool kids group, and I remember it really, really weighing heavy on me, and me feeling like I was ugly, and that I was, like a nerd and worthless. And I remember going to karate class, and my instructor kind of noticed that something was off. And he pulled me aside and was like asking me if you're okay. And I didn't want to share how I was feeling, because I just, I was a girl, and I didn't want to start breaking down and crying to him. But I was very emotional, which at between the ages of 12 and 18 you are, because you're trying to find out who you are. And I was very emotional, and he could see it, and he said, well, what's going on in your mind? And I said, I just feel like so ugly. I feel so left out. I had braces, I had braces. I don't even feel comfortable smiling. All the other girls have boyfriends. I don't have a boyfriend. Nobody wants to talk to me. Like, I just feel so alone. And I couldn't help but cry, you know? And he like wiped away my tears and put me in front of a mirror, and was just like, that's not what I see. That is not at all what I see. What I see is a young lady who is smart, who is brave, who is courageous, who is driven. And right now, you're just trying to find yourself. But I see all these things, and eventually you will too, And just by him telling me that, kind of turned my mentality around on how hard I was on myself, and then I just stopped comparing myself to them. He was like, you are beautiful. And I don't know if it was just him saying it, or just him putting me in front of the mirror and just showing me myself. I didn't even want to look at myself, and him showing me myself, and just like kind of letting me just sit and look at myself, kind of it gave me a voice, to be honest with you. And maybe that's why I fell in love with martial arts too, is because I felt like martial arts gave me a voice. And I from that day on, I kind of just walked differently, in my own body, and I carried myself differently, because I started to love who I was. And so I just urge you ladies to know, like, that who you are is beautiful and special, and to lean into all the things that make you who you are, and not to compare yourself to anybody else, because it is very important to be, unique and individual.
We're living in a world right now that we can compare ourselves to, millions of people online. And that wasn't the case when we were younger, or when I was younger. That wasn't the case. And we have to really be careful about, the comparison game, because we can ruin a lot of things by thinking that someone else is better. And what we're seeing is the highlight reels of people on Instagram and Facebook and all of the different social platforms. We don't really see what's really happening in real life. So I love that your coach did that for you and showed you. We have one hand up. I don't know if you have time for one more.
Yeah, of course.
Macy.
Hi, I was wondering if any of your opponents were ever rude or just not nice to you, and if so, how did you handle that?
Yes, I have had really rude, mean opponents. And you kind of just laugh it off. At the end of the day, I can't control what they do. I can only control what I can do. And I will always extend my hand and have respect for my opponent, but I'm not going to force them to shake my hand or be nice to me. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a combat sport, and however they have to deal with it in order to try to beat me, then that's their prerogative. For me, it never suited me to hold any type of personal grudges, because it just kind of clouds your ability to really get in the zone. And if any of you guys are athletes, you understand that. And this is also like a lesson that you can take with you into life. Anytime you get into an altercation or you are competing, to not let your emotions cloud your judgment. You have to think logically through things, and you have to be able to you have to be able to have a clear mind in order to get in the zone. So all those things are just mind games that people try to play with you to kind of stifle your progress.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right, so we want to support you, Michelle, and if any of these girls want to be able to reach out, like where can we find you? Like, I don't know if you're on social media. How can we support you?
Yes. It's Karate Hottie MMA on Instagram, and that's probably where I'm most active. But hopefully, if I continue to do these Apogee pods with you guys, I can make myself more available in that way. If you guys have any questions, just hand it over to Coach Whitney, and I'll try to make myself available to answer those questions or to help you out in any way that I can. I think you guys are great. Continue to chip away at your dreams, and I wish you guys all the best of luck.
Thank you, Michelle, for being here tonight and just, having some answers to these amazing questions. I want to say this in front of you. I run a lot of women's groups. Some of their moms are in some of the groups. This is the most hands I've ever seen up in a call. So I'm super proud that they're putting themselves out here and asking questions and being a leader and finding out and being selfish, because sometimes if we want to know the answer to something, we have to be a little selfish, and it takes a lot of courage to ask a question sometimes. So I appreciate you girls saying, raising your hands and asking the questions. But Michelle, thank you for being here. We're going to keep these young ladies on for a little debrief after, but I appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. And thanks, ladies, for participating. I mean, that's the name of the game, right? You get 100% of what you don't ask for. So you better ask.
Absolutely. Thank you.